Okay. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. And it is game time. I greatly appreciate you all. All right. Interesting show on Bernard's. For those who are of you who are watching the replay, Bernard had a show about the LGBTQ, WX, Y, and Z. Now I know. Well, no, I'm not gonna do. I'm not gonna say that. But anyway, he was talking about is their agenda. What Netflix. How Netflix backed Dave Chappelle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, I didn't actually know that happened, but I would say it has. Knowing that they did really changed my perspective of them because they were really starting to get jihad. They was really starting to get jihad and not in a good we hay or whiznay. So yeah, it is good to know that that happened. Anyway, apparently, speaking of agendas, there's this whole not giving birth to black boy agenda. Now, I wasn't going to cover this, and the reason why is because it's not really a thing that we as black people should concern ourselves with. Because you got to think of the type of person who would try to selectively breed by gender. And I'm not talking about when the Chinese did it. I'm talking about the people who actually are going to have smortions based on what the sonogram says on the gender. Well, it means that they weren't in healthy relationships to begin with. It means that we're not talking about the people with the white picket fences and the happy husbands, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're talking about a group of women, and we're going to cover this today. We're talking about a group of women who planned on becoming single mothers. They woke up and they when they created their life plan, instead of for love, marriage, baby carriage, they took the love marriage part out and said baby carriage. And now what they're doing is they're saying, okay, we're going to do the baby carriage thing, but we're going to add an additional caveat and say we're going to make it a pink baby carriage only. Very interesting that they would say that. Once again, those type of people, those type of extremists, it would mean that you would have to actually go out, find stray sperm, find some type of means to insert said stray sperm into yourself, wait for it to incubate, wait for the gender to develop, look, determine pink or blue, and then act accordingly. And if it's blue, then you repeat the same process again and again. The process of perpetual sperm, searching, which means that there is a contingent of women who are out looking for stray sperm, looking for random sperm in random places. Yeah, it's. I'm glad that the world sees this. To be truthful and honest with you, I'm glad that the world sees the length of depravity that exists amongst a certain cohort of people. I am. And as far as the next generation goes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, hey, more females for my son, less competition. Anyway, uh, this is a archived video. This is something that happened over 2 years ago. This video is on Irene Yvette's channel from January 2019. Now, this is before, I believe, before her own pregnancy by a guy who already had 5 baby mamas. And we don't know what happened to that baby. We don't know the outcome of that fetus. But I want y'all to examine this, study this, so y'all can see like what y'all can see the trappings of this mentality. Okay, fair use. Let me pause this.
Submission today, and it's going to be Cynthia taking the reins on this. And we're going to look into what submission is, who women should be submitting to or not submitting to, and all things surrounding that topic. If you guys could go ahead and click the like. I know I kind of sprung this one on you. I'm sorry for this short notice. But if you click the like, we can get more people in the room. And I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Also, for those of you who are not already subscribed to Cynthia, please look in the
That goes for y'all too. Hit that like button.
description box. She has 3 channels. All 3 channels are in the box. Pray for the wolves. All hell what? This is about to be good.
Yes.
Cynthia.
Lefford, I saw Lefford in the chat room. So, hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. Yeah, I think this will be a fun discussion. You know, I was looking forward to it.
So, first and foremost, are you submissive?
It depends on who I'm dealing with. Am I submissive to just anybody? Absolutely not. But I actually think it's kind of fun and comforting to submit to the right person.
What do you mean by comforting? Can you?
Okay, right there. This is what a lot of fake submissive women will say. I think it's fun and comforting to submit to the right person. Um, they say that because they don't want to completely. They want to create some type of cultural attachment to Black women in submission. They want to say we're submissive. It's just that y'all aren't dominant enough to embrace our submission. So it's a trap. Don't fall for it. Complex design. If you could tell me the timestamp on that, I greatly appreciate it. Fair use, people. Fair use.
Expound on that a little bit?
Well, because submission to me is tied to trust. Obviously, you wouldn't. It wouldn't be easy to submit to somebody that you just don't trust or who's not reliable. The man or woman, you know, because I know people. Some men may not want to be the dominant force in the relationship, but the bottom line is, whoever you submit to, you ultimately have to trust. If they're not reliable, if they're not consistent, if they don't keep their word, then you know that's going to cause anxiety because you're trying to rely on this person and you can't. They're dropping the ball every time. So when you have someone who is reliable and consistent, you know, he's a man of his word, you can trust that if he say he's going to take care of it, he's going to take care of it. Then to me, that's very comforting. That takes a lot of stress off of me, certain things I don't have to worry about. So it's
Okay. What she's doing now is she's dictating her terms of submission. This is topping from the bottom. She's basically saying, I will submit under these conditions. Now, every woman should choose the person that they submit to ultimately. I agree with that. But the way that she makes her choices is basically she's making her choices on who she submits to based on the work that he does. She says, if he's going to do this, then I'm going to submit. So basically, you're saying that do this and I'll submit. If he obeys, if he does the actions of your desire, then your submission is a reward. It's a treat. It's a Scooby snack. Meaning that if he submit to you by acting in the way that you desire, then you will submit to him. Y'all see how that works? I'll submit to you if you submit to me.
kind of like resting in the abilities of another person. I think being able to trust it's really a beautiful thing. It really is. And so I think that's why a lot of women really, well, I'll say Black women, since whenever we get into these discussions, it's always towards Black women. But I'll say a lot of Black women, I think that they don't trust in Black men's ability to really follow through, to lead. And if you don't trust a person, of course, you're going to be very resistant to, you'll be very, very resistant to submit.
Now, what she said is spot on. Black women, a lot of Black women do not trust a Black man to lead. Everything that comes after that is BS. Once a person admits to not trusting your ability to lead, then they won't actively submit to you. Now, with that being said, any actions that follows that is your fault, collectively speaking, because a man can rightly say, I don't trust your willingness to submit. Black men can collectively say, I don't trust your willingness to submit. That is why I am with a non-Black woman. You have not proven yourself, thanks for being a channel member, Mike Ross. You have not proven yourself to be a worthy candidate for me because I don't trust that you would submit to me. Basically, I don't trust your trust.
Submitting to him.
So a common theme that I've noticed is men claiming women are not submissive and demanding submission. And I think I can probably speak for a lot of people when I say that people probably don't think that you even believe in submission. For men who are demanding submission, what do you think is behind that? And has that ever happened to you? Is that a phenomenon you experienced in your real life where a man is demanding submission from you because they feel they're not getting it?
I personally never been in a relationship with any man who even asked me to submit to him. I think that if you're going to submit to a man, that would just be the natural dynamic of.
Now, listen to Irene Yvette, a woman who claims to be submissive, saying that it's a problem when men demand submission. See, Irene Yvette is a woman who has successfully turned the table on her husband. She topped him from the bottom. She obviously has a problem with submission. She has a problem with men requiring submission of their mate, but she claims to submit to her mate.
The functional relationship. And so when I've been in relationships, it would just flow. Generally, if I had a problem with something, or if there was a problem in a relationship, it wasn't necessarily me not submitting. But I do think that the men who
an unwillingness to accept blame. Oh, when there's a problem in my relationship, it's not because I'm not submitting. It's because yeah, exactly. The problem is because you're not submitting.
are most asking for submission are generally the ones who don't deserve it. They're really not doing anything to warrant submission. And so I think it's really interesting.
And I know I interrupted a lot. Y'all see what she did here? So basically, she's saying that the men that she is in a relationship with, the problem that she has in a relationship is that the men aren't worthy of submitting to. So you get into a relationship with a guy, and then you say to that guy, in the relationship, you are not worthy of submitting to. At what stage in the relationship do you determine that he is not worthy of submitting to? Oh, it's when he asks you to submit in a way that you don't want to. You see, the only submission you embrace is when he requires that you submit to him under your terms, which means he is essentially submitting to your terms, which means that you are topping him from the bottom. Now, since that's not working, you're automatically going to say, "Oh, I deem you unworthy of submission." You see, submission isn't really given if it can easily be taken away.
When we hear a bunch of these men talking, running around saying, you know, submit, submit, we demanding submission. But then most of the time when you ask them, what would you like for me to submit to? They really can't even name anything that you should be submitting to. So that's what I find really interesting.
Well, you submit to the man. They can't really name it because it's not a what, it's a who. You submit to the man. Now, whether his goal or design, is to rule the world, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or if it's to finish school, or no matter what, or if it's just to raise a healthy family, you are submitting to the man. You see, when she says what, she's basically trying to sell. She's trying to sell her submission to you. What am I submitting to you? What am I submitting to? A new car. What am I submitting to? A Birkin bag. What am I submitting to? A big ass house. She wants you to sell her something, making you essentially submitting to her. That's the wordplay. That's the game that she is trying to run on. First of all, there isn't an answer to that question that she will accept. Let's be clear. The question is designed to make you feel inadequate. The question is designed to justify not submitting while at the same time claiming to be submissive. Nothing you can really say will be good enough. You can just be on some pinky in the brain thing. I am submitting to your agenda to try to take over the world. And she will say, yeah, I don't think you're going to take over the world. These brothers just keep talking about taking over the world. They ain't going to take over shit. And blah, 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 blah. I'm not submitting, but I am submissive. I'm just not submitting.
Interesting. I think that most of the men today are not worthy of submission. And I think that if they were, they would not have to put so much emphasis on it. They really wouldn't even have to ask for it. I think that they would find that they would automatically get it.
Do you think that it's true that Black women on the whole are not submissive, and that's causing the problems between Black men and women?
I think it wouldn't matter. Submit to what, though? That's the thing. What I'm confused as to what it is that Black men
submit to what? And once again, there we go. Ever notice how no other woman says that? Like, think about it. When was the Oriental woman, when did she say, what am I submitting to?
would like Black women to submit to. If they want them to just submit to the fact that they are men and they're asking for it, then that's one thing. But what are you, at the collective of women, because I noticed that they'll do it at the collective of women. At the collective of women, what do you want the collective of Black women to submit to? Now, I know.
Okay, I'll bite. Submit to a superior family structure. Let's start there. Submit to a diet, really, collectively. But submit to a functional family structure. Submit to a way of thinking that puts the needs of the family, and by extension, the needs of the community over the wants of the individual. Submit to that.
I know that there are some Black women who they don't really, they don't like submitting to a Black man, and I don't think that it's because he's Black. And I think it's because you have.
They don't like submitting to a Black man, but I don't think it's because he's Black. Okay.
I have a lot of women, Black women, who number one are growing up in homes where there is no man. So automatically they're not being taught to submit.
They're growing up in homes where there is no man because the mother didn't. The young women are growing up in homes where there is no man because the mother didn't. Come on, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. Lift a wig, scratch your head. There's no man because the mother didn't. Oh, she didn't submit, and there's no man, which means that the daughter is less capable of submitting, meaning that she has problems finding a relationship, meaning it's a perpetual cycle that caused chaos and dysfunction because the mother didn't submit. So what you can do to break the cycle is submit, and not ask to what? Submit to a structure that's non-chaotic.
To the authority of a man. They don't know what it's like, specifically a Black man. And I think that they're not considering that. And then I think the second thing is a lot of Black men, it seems like they have the expectation that once you get in a relationship with them, they shouldn't have to prove that they are worthy of submission. And by worthy, I mean,
yes, that is what the relationship is. The man proved that prior to the relationship. Like, you don't get into a relationship with a man that you are not willing to submit to. So if I'm to understand this, a man is supposed to get with a non-submissive woman and wait for her to become submissive? All the while, he's trying to prove himself worthy. And by doing so, because he's in a constant interview process with you, that would make you the dominant figure in the relationship. This is topping from the bottom. Peace to Bernard Riley.
Reliable, consistent, he keeps his word. You know, he's actually a leader. I think that they think that once you get in that relationship, even if you don't really know them, you should just be automatically submitting. And I don't.
Well, that's what the relationship is. If you are submissive and you are in a relationship with somebody, then you should be submitting to the one that you're in the relationship with. Or don't be in a relationship with. What type of relationship is it? What type of relationships have you been in? You've never been married. So basically what you're doing is you're walking around saying, you know, oh, I'm submissive, I just don't submit. Now, we're going to tie this into the not having Black male babies thing that she says 2 years after this. We're going to get into that part. But let's continue with this.
I just don't believe that. I also think that Black men see submission as a power dynamic that's more like subjugation. I don't think that they realize that submission is simply agreeableness and yielding to, you know, someone's wants and needs so that they would.
That's exactly how we see it, which is a power dynamic in essence. So we actually see it as both, but that's exactly what it is. So you're saying that you don't even yield and you're not agreeable with the people that you're in a relationship with.
Would at some point have to return some submission because you should be considering the feelings of the person that you're in a relationship.
I got to stop pausing, but she is just so full of it. She's just so full of it that I can't help it. She's basically like, okay, I'm going to submit to you, but you have to return some submission. See, you as a black man, you don't understand that you got to return some submission in order for me to submit. But when I'm in a relationship with you, I'm not submitting. But you should be returning submission to me. So, what is the true power dynamic in her relationships? In her relationships, she is getting into relationships with guys, not submitting to the guys, but waiting for them to return the invisible submission that she's given to them, so that she can dominate them. Y'all see what's going on here?
Relationship with. So I think that they just don't really, I think that they're not really conceptualizing what they're asking for. And I think that they want submission based only on the fact that they're a black man, and they don't want to really give anything in return. And when they don't, then they're met with a challenge, then it's a problem for them. And they'll go out and say, oh, black women don't submit, black women don't submit. But it's like, well, maybe you're just not worthy, or what she sees as worthy of submission.
You brought up an interesting point about a lot of women not having a male figure in the home to learn what submission looks like as they're growing up. And I was thinking, as you were talking, this kind of extends to having a black man in the home for the boys to learn what leadership and dominance looks like. And do you think that it ends up being a circular door where there are not men present so that women can learn what that place feels like, and so that men can learn what that place looks like, and then they grow up and they have a false understanding of what submission looks like, and they don't recognize that submission comes with action on their part. They think submission is just an action of the woman and not a woman's response to their leadership and dominance.
I absolutely do think that they think that. And I think that's why they're being met with so much resistance, because in the one hand.
Okay, there was some truth to what she said. It's being met with resistance because y'all simply don't want to submit. So basically what Irene Yvette would have us believe is that you have to do something. You have to slay the dragon before we actually submit to you. Now, notice when they say these things, they never actually say what it is a man needs to do for them to be considered worthy of submission. And the reason for that is simple. There's always, for one, it's two parts. One, they could just set the bar so high that the standards will be obviously ridiculous. That's one. And two, if they set reasonable standards, then we would just point to a man who is doing it and still not getting the submissive black women. Like if they was to say, you have to do, I don't know, maintain stable employment or something like that. And then we just point to the guy next door who maintains stable employment. And like, why aren't you with him? And it's like, oh yeah, but. So they're not going to really say where the goalpost. Yeah, exactly. Makes it easy to move the goalpost. They're not going to say where the goalpost is. They're just going to say you don't meet it. Me not submitting, and that's all this is about. This is just making an excuse or making a justification for not submitting. We don't submit because you're not worthy of submission. What do you have to do to be worthy? Be born with a father in a household. Like her kids aren't. And by her, I'm talking about Irene Yvette's, because, their father is some white guy. Well, I'm not even going to get into that, but yeah. Oh, and Sinji, of course.
And they'll say, well, Black women don't want to submit, but they'll ignore the fact that you have a lot of Black men who, just like you said, didn't have that father leader figure. So they don't know how to be a man that is worthy of submission. So you have them running around, some of them from religion, where they think that submission is automatically just on the merit that we're women, we should automatically fall to the heel of the man and bow to and accommodate whatever request he makes. But
now you see how she's describing submission? She's describing submission as bowing to heel, etc., etc., etc. That's how she's describing submission. That is the description that she's giving for submission. However, it's also the description of submission that she said that Black men give. You see how she's projecting? You see how she's lying?
These men, a lot of our men, and I want to say, let me just say too many of them. Too many of them who are asking for submission, they don't know that you need to do something for submission to apply, because I
want y'all to continue to pay attention to her saying do something. Do what? Something. What is it that you want them to do? Something. What is the exact something? You got to do something. Once again, leaves them opportunity to move the goalposts. Now, when we talk about how these Black men don't exist that are worthy of submission, let's look at Irene Yvette's current husband. According to her, he's a successful doctor. According to her, she met him after she divorced her white zaddy and had like 4 kids with the white dude. So basically, if a divorcee of 4 kids can easily find a Black doctor that's worthy of submission, what's wrong with you, Sinji? Oh, it's because she's not actually submitting to the guy. Got it. Okay.
I don't think that there's any woman going around and just submitting on the merit of her, on the fact that she's a woman and he's a man. I don't even think that when Black men go to other races of women, they're not really even getting the submission that they think that they're getting. Sexual dominance and submission and allowing you to disrespect someone is not submission. That's something that a person, because internally they have.
What she just said there is true. It is true. Basically, that's just the sexual aspect of it, and it's really like role play. She, in certain instances, she's role playing as a submissive person in order to boost sexual activity or arousal. That is true, but guess what? It's more than what you offer. You see, it's not a sliding, it's not a radio button. It's not a on or off switch submission. It's not. It's a sliding scale. There's levels to it, which is why some women are more submissive than others. Now, even though they may not be as submissive as they would like, as the men probably would like for them to be, collectively speaking, they are more submissive than you are. Even if they are likely less submissive to the Black man than they would be to their own men, they are still more submissive than you are collectively. So no matter what, it's a better deal. All right. Read the super chat. Super chats are welcome and appreciated. It says the most ironic thing is the men they claim are not worthy of submissions are the men they are having babies by and chasing after. Absolutely. Because they're not actually seeking dominance. They're seeking men that they can control. And what this video is a reaction to is the frustration of the inability for, or the unwillingness for men to accept this position. This is them saying, black men, we hear that you want more submissive women, and we're responding with, you're not worthy of submission collectively. However, if you want to be worthy of submission, then you have to do something. And that something is whatever the fuck we tell you to do. The moment you start doing whatever the fuck we tell you to do, then we'll start submitting to you. I promise. All you have to do is whatever we say, and then we'll submit.
Have something in them where they lack standards is somehow allowing them to let you treat them anyway. But any respectable woman is going to want to know, or she's going to want to see something, some kind of leadership, because again, I think it's tied to trust. If I can't see that I can trust in you, then I can't submit to you because I'm probably going to say, I can't rely on this man. I can't rely on him. So if I have to do everything on my own because I can't rely on him, then why would I submit to that person? They're not making the connection between saying that Black women don't know how to submit and then Black men not being in the home to raise their sons to grow up to be men who are worthy of submission and who are effective leaders.
Now, have to bring this up. Black women aren't willing to submit, and Black men aren't willing to raise their sons, says the woman who don't believe in birthing Black sons. So she will later admit in her life that, so right now she's saying that in order for Black men to submit, or excuse me, in order for Black women to submit to Black men must be in a house raising their children. According to her, these are the men that are worthy of submission. And now what she's saying in her most recent videos is that I will not be giving birth to these men. She do not wish to create men that are worthy of submission. She's admitting her agenda. She understands that, there is a power dynamic that comes along with men, and, men can get it, young men can get it elsewhere, but she understands that there is a power dynamic that comes along with men that are properly raised. And she's going to fight tooth and nail against that. The dynamic of a man raising his son to be a dominant man is the antithesis of what she actually wants, which is why she is actually an advocate of the whole baby mama dynamic. And she will later prove this in her own life. And if she can't effectively do the baby mama dynamic, because what she will later find out is, guess what? Even men who were raised by single mothers, which was your agenda, even those men are going to want a submissive woman. And if given a choice and opportunity, they will always go after the most submissive woman. You come to that conclusion and you hate it. And your solution is don't give birth to them.
And dominant forces who are going to naturally get submission.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Now, do you feel that the issue in our community lies with the fact that the women are incapable of or do not feel that submission is a stance they want to take, that submission is a dirty word? I would be of the opinion that we greatly lack male leadership. And it's sort of like...
This interview is weird because it's the same question over and over and over again, just worded different. Basically, it's the question of, are Black women unwilling to submit, or are Black men not worthy of submission? It's just reworded, but it's the same question, and it's a leading question. You know, because she's going to say what she thinks before Cynthia G answers the question.
You know, if in a household there are no standards, there's no parental leadership, the children run amok, right? The children are going to do what they want to do and set the standard for themselves. Do you feel that women are essentially being leaders because we don't have the male leaders in our community to do the actual leadership, and then our men are coming and despising the fact that we're doing the work that's not currently being done by them?
Same question packaged differently, but she's saying, do you think this is a leading question as I don't know what?
I definitely do, because we have what I believe to be an epidemic in our community, where by and large, the men not only don't know the definition of actual manhood, they don't know how to embody it. And so because they don't know how to embody it, and I think now since we have these gender roles reversed, I think you have a lot of men who really believe that they should be.
Okay, right there. Now that we have the gender roles reversed. Okay, first of all, Irene Verde is a housewife, so yeah, there's that. But it really means that you see yourself as a man. You see yourself as, you know, because that's an individual thing that you just said. You know, according to you, the gender roles are reversed. And any man that gets with you should be behaving as a woman because you're going to behave as a man.
Kept men, but that they should be getting submission on the merit of their maleness, I'll say, based off their biological state of being a man. But in reality, if you have Black women, which we know we have a lot of them, who again, they don't have a reliable Black man, they are doing everything on their own, then for a woman like that, that's going to be very difficult for you as a man to just come step in and say, submit to me, although I can't relieve you of any of these burdens. You still.
And that is one of the conditions. In order for me to submit to you, you must relieve me of certain burdens. Now, really, a submissive woman would, because no matter what, there are going to be burdens. You know, it's kind of like if you're working at Subway and then the guy says, okay, you no longer have to work at Subway anymore because I am the dominant, you know, person in your life. Now make me a sandwich. You're still making a sandwich. You haven't actually been relieved of a burden at all. So it's like, okay, you no longer have to work, but you still have to bear and rear children. So you're claiming to be submissive, but you're looking for a relief of a burden? Life is a burden. So you want a man that retires you in exchange for submission, but submission itself isn't a retirement. So really where you're stuck at is you want to be a kept woman that don't really do anything. You want to get your Peggy Bundy on while he be a workhorse for your life of luxury. And in return, you give him submission and title only. You're not actually burdening yourself with actually submitting. Nope.
Have to do all these things and play the leader role I can't, as a man, even provide for or take care of myself, but I want you to submit to me so that I can get the false sense of manhood.
I, as a man, and cannot take care of myself. That's a straw man, but okay.
Because really in society, I'm reduced to lower than a woman, really. I'm reduced to extremely ineffective. And so I think that is a problem, because I think that if Black men were doing more, and I know that they make a lot of excuses, and we had some of those excuses on.
Once again, this is an open-ended thing. Before, she was trying to hint at our only criteria is, that you can protect or, provide for yourself. But now she's just saying doing more. Who in the world can't not do more? Like, no matter how much you're doing, you can always do more. And that's just her way of blanketly saying you are not worthy of my submission. That's the reason that I'm not submitting. It's not because I'm not naturally inclined to do so. It's because you need to do more. More what? More. Yeah, more what? I want more. And when you give me more, I will submit. Now take me from my burden. Now, when you think about helpmate, when you think about the term helpmate, isn't that what a helpmate does? Which means that she really wants you to submit to her, period.
On a panel yesterday saying, well, if Black men were doing everything that they wanted to do, that they should be doing, Black women still wouldn't submit. So they give this narrative that somehow Black women are not submitting based solely on the basis of Black men, and they just don't think Black men are worthy of submission. Meanwhile, Black men.
That's not a narrative. That's exactly what you just said. We don't trust you to be leaders because you're not doing more. They're painting this narrative. You just painted that narrative. Kenneth Williams, thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Cash apps and super chats are welcome and appreciated. Thanks a lot.
Are not doing anything that is worthy of submission. So I would challenge Black men to actually embody what it takes to actually garner submission, and then you won't keep having to try to demand it when clearly nobody is trying to meet your demands, obviously. So the way that they're going.
She just admitted that Black women are not submitting. Clearly nobody is meeting your demands. So you just admitted that Black women are not submitting. And then before, you just asked the question, are Black women not submitting to Black men? It's weird.
About getting it's just not, it's not effective. If you're not going to be rearing effective leaders, become effective leaders, become men who are worthy of submission, then you should not be asking for it. Because quite frankly, to me, if you have to ask for it, then you just don't deserve it.
So my mom played this shit on me when I was a kid. Now, my mom was very young when she had me, and my parents were divorced. So I spent some weekends with her, some weekends with my dad. Or actually, the way it worked was I was primarily with my dad, and I spent every other weekend with my mom. So my dad had full custody. Now, what she did one time, during the kid's birthday, it was a birthday party, and we had it at a place. It wasn't Chuck E. Cheese, but it was at a place, and there were video game machines there, and that's pretty much how it works. Pizza, video game, happy birthday, song, and free cake. That's what a birthday is. Now, the problem is that you need a quarter for the video game. And where do kids get money? their parents. So that's, hey mom, let me have a quarter. Well, because you asked for a quarter, that's why you're not getting one. Excuse me? Because you have fixed yourself to ask me for a quarter, it means that you're not worthy of a quarter. What? You shouldn't have to ask for a quarter. It's the same logic. So because you asked for a quarter, I'm not going to give you a quarter. So if I didn't ask for a quarter, would you give me one? No. What? Well, because you don't want one. That's what they're doing here. It's the same logic. The sisterhood reads from the same scrolls.
So,
picture this. Picture a man given a questionnaire, like say at a speed dating event. So what qualities are you looking for in a woman? Well, I want somebody who's smart, pretty, nurturing, loving, submissive, can cook. Oh, well, because you put those things on the list of things you want in a woman, you don't deserve those things. I beg your pardon? Yeah, because you're shallow, you don't deserve a beautiful woman. What? Okay.
so another question that I have has to do with what a woman should be looking for. Because I think that we've established that Black women will submit, but they've taken on the role.
Do y'all hear this crap? She just said that we've established that Black men will submit. Now, trust me, I only seen this video once. I'm only going to do the first 30 minutes. I only seen this video once. But I could tell you she's going to ask the exact same question again, just worded differently. So we've established that Black women will submit. No, we haven't.
Of doing the work of being dominant and doing the work of being leaders because they're left without leadership. And I think it's honest to say there's a collective cry from Black women toward their men to step up to that leadership and dominant position so that we don't have to do that work and we can rest in our submission. But in the climate where there are so many of our men who aren't prepared to do that or don't know how because they haven't been taught, what should women be looking for when they're considering they're considering looking for partners in the community?
Well, the thing of it is I think that I'll first say this. I think it would be very dangerous at this point if Black women were just going around giving Black men undeserved submission. I think that would be a mistake.
Okay. That's not what was asked. And I have to give it to her. This finally is a different question. That's not what was asked. She was saying, how do you determine if a guy is worthy of submission? Now, her answer thus far is, I think we should be careful who we submit to. Yeah, be careful, but how do we determine who to submit to? And this is, and I think she's going to dodge this, but this is the question that I was going to ask earlier. You want them to do something, do what? What in particular are the criteria for submission? I'm going to see if she dodged this one. But actually, no, this is the part where I wanted to cover. So here, listen.
But I can't speak for other Black women because I know whatever it's subjective. What people find outside of the basic definition, what is looked at as a man or what you should be looking for in a man is fairly subjective. But to me, in order for a man to get my submission, and I would say that that looking for these things would probably be beneficial to a lot of Black women is, number one, honesty. Honesty is going to facilitate trust.
Okay, then go ahead and submit to Alan Roger Curry and Mel.
And again, if you cannot trust a man, you're not going to submit to him. Leadership, accountability, responsibility. Okay, because the thing of it is, and when I say responsibility, meaning there are a number of different men out there, for example, with regards to providing for their children, they are of the mindset that they will do so regardless to the relationship of the woman. Okay, so they've already established their manhood outside of what a woman is doing, and I think
Now I'm gonna translate. I'm gonna mansplain what she just said. The man that is worthy of submission is a man who is responsible for his kids with women that he is not in a relationship with. And there you have it. There you have it. Keep in mind that this is before or maybe during, she got with a 5-time baby mama maker. I determine the man that is worthy of submission to be the man that is supporting women who are not submitting to him. I deem the man who is worthy of submission as the man who is supporting the women who are not submitting to him. When I look at a man, I look at how many baby mamas he has. And I want to see how he's treating the women that he's no longer in a relationship with. And then I say, you know something? He treats the women he is no longer in a relationship with so well that I want to get in a relationship with him. Pat Turner says, yes, a man should take care of his children even if he's not in a relationship with the mother. Fool. Well, Pat Turner, a man should be in a relationship with the woman he has children with. You see, baby mama-ism and baby daddy-ism should not be such a commonplace to where it's a criteria for a person to determine if they should be with another person. Unless you're an idiot. Pat Turner, are you an idiot? Please explain this logic to me. You're telling me that a woman should look at how, if a man supports the children of previous relationships before getting to that. Now, let's follow this logic to its fullest. What did the first woman do? And Pat, I want you to answer this question. What did the first woman do to vet him? You're saying that in order to be vetted by women like Cynthia G and yourself, a man needs to first have several kids? You got to have several kids, take care of them, and then you get with the woman who actually submit to you. Are you an imbecile? Actually, you know something? This link is for you. This link is for you. I would like to pick your I know regular people call it brain. I would like to see what is your mindset when it comes to this. Please. Please. And this is why baby mama and baby daddyism is so bad. It's such a bad thing. We need to trace paternity properly. If not, you run the risk of sleeping with your relatives and bearing children like Pat Turner. You don't want that. You want to know, you want every child to know who their daddy is so people aren't sleeping with their half brothers and half sisters and giving birth to Pat Turner. Hold on, I'm going to go back a little bit.
Providing for their children. They are of the mindset, and I think, and to me, that's critical. Like, I wouldn't chip up for example, with regards to providing for their children. They are of the mindset that they will do so regardless to the relationship of the woman. Okay, so they've already established their manhood outside of what a woman is doing, and I think, and to me, that's critical. Like, I'm less concerned with whether a man has children in a prior relationship than I am with whether or not he believes that it is his responsibility to still provide for his children, regardless to his relationship status with the woman. To me, that shows integrity. It shows responsibility. And to me, that shows leadership. That if he wants to, if he believes in being a provider, if he believes in being a protector, he has to have some kind of core values and ambition to where if he feels like things are too hard for him, he's not going to give up. He's still going to go through that process. To me, that's what makes a man.
So basically, I'm about to mansplain it to you. The way he puts up with the shit black women put him through really shows how much of a leader he is. Now, who or what is he leading at that point? Like, who or what is the typical baby daddy leading? She has custody. He pays the child support. Who's he leading? Who's he leading? It shows leadership. No, it shows that he is paying the bills of others.
And so if a man doesn't have those characteristics or qualities, he's not going to get submission from me. Chances are he's not.
Oh, God, are you kidding me? If a man isn't a baby daddy, he's not going to get submission from you? If a man isn't a baby daddy, he's not going to get submission from me.
I'm going to be invited into my life at this point, because that's what I would need in order to have peace in a relationship. Because ultimately,
in order to have peace in a relationship, I need a bunch of baby mamas. In order to have, this is 4 hours. I'm going to dissect this whole video. I mean, not in one thing, but, in separate parts. I'm going to dissect this whole video because it gets more and more interesting.
I do want a man that I can submit to. I believe men.
No, you don't. You want a man that you could squeeze for child support. That's what you want. You want to squeeze a man for child support, and you're looking for men who are already squozing for child support, and they are okay with it. You look for men who are already getting squeezed for child support, and they just walk around with a grin about it, and you like, oh, here's a sucker. I'm gonna squeeze him for some more child support because he's okay with being squozing for child support. Keep in mind that this is before you decided to become baby mama night, like number 5 or 8 or something. I lost count. You're looking for sperm donors. Yeah, exactly. And then you say, I will submit to him. You don't actually submit to these guys. You just steal their sperm.
Should be leaders. I see value in men being heads of households, and I do see value.
That's not a household, bitch. What is wrong with you? That is not a household. That's just a guy in a house who has kids in other houses. He's the head of a house. What the hell?
Value in taking the lead of a man, following a man, but that man has to show, not tell, he needs to show and prove that he is capable of doing that. And you can do that by observing how he runs his life and how things are managed in his
how he runs his life. Having a multitude of baby mamas that he's taking care of is a plus to you.
His life, because if he can't manage his life, he can't even lead you. So why would you be submitting to him? So those are some of the things that
this is what she calls managing his life. So all this time we was asking for specifics. What is your specific criteria? And then when she finally says it's this crap, this is ridiculous.
I just think it would benefit Black women to keep in mind when they're looking at a man and trying to assess his worthiness of submission. Those are the things that are important to me.
I definitely agree with that. I think
you definitely agree with that?
I think that women have to be very careful about who they submit to, because
yes, you don't want to submit to the wrong baby daddy, do you? Now keep in mind also, God, there's so much to unpack that just new stuff just keep coming up. Keep in mind also that she was talking about how necessary it is for a man to be in the house. And now she's vetting on a man and him taking care of children outside of the house.
Submission is a very vulnerable place to be, because you're really counting on that person to be responsible, and you're counting on that person to make good decisions. And that takes so much trust. Do you think that it's fair to say that when you talk about Black male accountability and you talk about the submission that Black men are in to the current system of the white-led Western world, do you feel that you attack those issues because you recognize that the fate of our community really is at the feet of our men? Or are you doing that as men?
This is an interesting question, and it's more interesting now because the fate of our community is at the feet of our men. And we shouldn't be giving birth to black men 2 years later. We shouldn't be giving birth to black men. Like, wait, what? So the fate of the community is at the feet of the men that you are now refusing to give birth to. Oh, by the way, Irene Yvette never actually gave birth to a black man or boy. So she hasn't really contributed to the community either. So it's clear to say that their actions, their life actions, means that they don't want the community to get better. Pat Turner says, why don't black men put up the penis and start building community? Well, we don't put up our penis because it's too damn big. How about that?
Many people believe.
And another thing, ever notice how other groups of men can have sex and build communities? Ever notice that? With black women, you gotta choose.
Believe because you hate.
Thanks for the super sticker, W. Alfonso.
Black men and want to bash them.
I don't hate black men. It's funny because I know a lot of people, they associate hatred with giving attention to something. If I hated black men, I wouldn't give them any attention. I have no problem attracting men of whatever race. So if I had a disdain for black men, I would see them as expendable. So I would just simply go find someone else who didn't have those issues rather than trying to discuss.
So you have no trouble attracting men of other races. Why do you have such trouble attracting black men? Irene Yvette didn't have the same trouble, and she's older with more kids. She's just better at fake submission than you are. All right, so Pat Turner says, you fools are on this live talking about women and child support. The real issue is white supremacy, causing y'all to be broke and suppressed. That's why you have to blame women for your lack of income. So when do we blame women for our lack of income? When are we saying that we're broke? See, the thing is that for the most part, we're not actually broke. We're on here in our homes on high-speed internet, free as we want to be, not thinking about white supremacy. And now that that's not on our mind, we're thinking about your ass and not getting us a sandwich. You see, this whole white supremacy thing was something that you could have used at some point in time. Maybe on great grandpa, something like that when he was concerned with the white man. Now that that's over, we have to think of a new problem. You see, you know what you are? You're like Thanos. And those of you who watched, Avengers and, who follow that universe, the MCU, follow this. Imagine Thanos coming, looking for the Infinity Stones, telling you, y'all should be worried about Ultron. Like what? Yeah, y'all should be focused on Ultron. Excuse me? Ultron is dead and gone several movies ago. We had a whole civil war since then. Now, you're the problem. And just like Thanos want to eliminate half the population, so do you, the male half, apparently.
These with Black men in order to try to motivate them to do something about their situation, because ultimately it has been proven.
And Black men make more money than you. And white women make more money than you. And they're less fat than you. And more submissive than you. In a very real way, since you want to bring up crap, they are better men and women than you are. Well, all right. There's that.
That it doesn't matter how effective a Black
Oh, and they actually give birth to our male children.
man is, when he lives in a system of dominance, there are outside forces that can come and impact your life. So even if all Black women across the board were submitting to Black men, that doesn't relinquish the threat of those outside dominating forces coming in and influencing the way your household goes, whether that man is in the home.
Now, according to her, even if Black women start to submit, white supremacy is going to come into your household and tell you that you should have your fork to the left of the spoon. That is what she pictures happening. Like the day, now they're not doing this now, but one day Black women are to submit, and then white supremacy is going to come in and take the batteries out your remote. Like what? Yeah, that's just what they do. Look at what they're doing to the Asian community. Look at what white supremacy has done to the Asian community. You know, where the women submit. White supremacy is they go to Asian people's house, they take their chopsticks off their plate and give them a fork. You see what white supremacy does to the Asian community? They go to Chinatown in San Francisco, in Oakland, and then they make them eat beef. Like, what? So basically, white supremacy is the ultimate red herring. It's the ultimate, don't look at me, look at this.
Or not, you know, whether your children are harmed, because we still have those issues. So when I'm talking about,
nobody else has those issues. And really, we don't either. Well, we do now because apparently you want to have a smorgasbord on all baby boys. So, who's committing the genocide here? White supremacy has done some things. They didn't do that. They didn't do that.
You know, collectively as a group, them doing something about the systemic issues. It's not coming from a place of hatred. It's coming from a place of our community, whether you...
Oh, you are a slow one. You are a slow one. Spanish people know how to take care of their family. ADOS need to learn from them. Yeah, you should take lessons. I would love it if you called me Poppy. You see, Pat Turner, you come here and you compare communities from women who submit and women who don't submit. Yes, Spanish women submit. And they take care of their family. You want to know what Spanish women aren't doing? They aren't saying that we should have smortions on the boys. You want to know why? Because they're not stupid like you. You just compared yourself to a more submissive group of women, and you showed how it functions. You're the worst debater alive.
Like want to see it or not, is the target. And even if we are completely submitting to you, that's not going to relieve us at that target. It's just not going to. So I'm not even seeing why that's interpreted as hatred, but that's a mentality right there that doesn't deserve submission, because they should see the issue and for what it is. That's why when I look for a man, I'm looking for a Black man who understands the systemic issues. Now, he may not be able to go out there and fight them on his own, but he does understand that there are big systemic issues that.
I submit to a man who understands that they are systemic issues. We all understand that they are systemic issues, and you're part of it. That is what you are. But let's listen to her further.
That need to be dealt with. And so for me, that's very important, because when I go out and I see individual men, Black men, I'm in my mind, if I'm talking to them and trying to get to know them, in my mind, I'm not thinking you're dominated by white supremacy, therefore I can't submit to you. I'm trying to get a gauge on.
Now, keep in mind that later she will say exactly that. You beta males, you dominated. Beta males, dominated. White supremacy, 3 trash bags. This is what she sounded like before. I'm not saying that you're dominated by white supremacy and therefore I can't submit to. Yes, you are. Or excuse me, yes, you will. Yes, you will say that.
On their mindset, so I can see, is this man's mindset going to be conducive to pursuing liberation, or is it just going to be to submitting to liberation, to the dominance of another man? And to me, that's just not a man I would want to deal with. I would really be single forever before I accepted a Black man who just wanted to sit.
She is foreshadowing her own life, at least the next 3 years of it, like right now. Yes, you will be single forever. So, yeah.
In the system, and didn't want to do something to address it, because the first step to resolving a problem is ultimately to acknowledge that there is one.
That's so interesting that you just said that, because I was reading.
Okay. So we've established that white supremacy is a distraction. And what she just said is, I am only going to mess with men who is distracted by white supremacy. These are the only men that I am going to mess with. And why? Because when you're looking for that's her manipulation tactic. Basically, as we will see later in her life, that she's going to use the whole beta male thing like that. See, that only works on that type of brother. They're the only ones that be like, oh no, I'm conquered, I'm a beta male and blah, blah, blah. She's right. She wants a brother that she can use that type of rhetoric on. And that's why she's looking for these, super pro Blacks. You see, here's how it works. Back in the day, there was a group of women whose only seduction technique was their ability to take the white man's boot out of the black man's ass. Like every day, the black man would go out and receive a fresh white man's boot in his ass. And they would be the loving, nurturing, supportive, here, honey, let me take this boot out of your ass. And it was chronic boot ass takeout. That's what the relationship was. It was a boot and ass takeout. He went out into the world, got a boot in his ass, and she took it out. And she was his everything. He loved, adored her, and didn't really notice anything else wrong with her. He didn't really critically examine her because she was the person that took the boot out the ass. And then one day, the boot wasn't there anymore. But all she is trained to do is take the boot out the ass. So now what she's looking for is a person who still has the boot in the ass, at least in his mind. He has the imaginary boot in his ass. And she wants to now take imaginary boots out of ass in exchange for relieving her life's burden. And nobody's going to fall for that. And the men that you want to fall for it aren't going to fall for it. Why? Because if you are a person that has an imaginary boot in your ass, then your life is not good. If you're complaining about an imaginary boot in your ass, it's because you're not happy. You feel something in your ass that's not even there. That's not normal.
Reading a comment by the Revolutionary, and he said that Black men are the last group to assimilate to European ideologies in America. So the statement, the Revolutionary, and he said that Black men. That's so interesting that you.
Now, something very interesting is about to happen. Something extremely interesting is about to happen. And do you know what that is? The interesting thing that's about to happen is that the man that in the future will impregnate Cynthia G is about to say something in the comment section. I repeat, the man who is in the future going to impregnate Cynthia G is about to say something in the comment section. You know, I think his name is Robert Perkins or something of that sort. He's about to say something in the comment section. All right, once again, fair use. Hold on. Let me add Pat to the stream. Hold on, Pat. Let me play this part.
You just said that because I was reading a comment by the Revolutionary.
The Revolutionary, that's him.
And he said that Black men are the last group to assimilate to European ideologies in America. So the statement that Black men submit is a lie.
Black men are the first ones to assimilate to white ideologies, and the fact that they don't see that is a problem.
And this is how it started, I guess. This is how it started. And, she just seen how many baby mamas he had. And, he was still taking care of the baby mamas. And she's like, ooh, I want to get on that.
In and of itself. I'm trying to figure out what are they backing that by? Where are they getting that from? Based on what? Because the fact that Black men cling so much to this notion of patriarchy and submission is evidence of them actually aligning themselves to white ideology.
Oh, crap. So right there, she's saying that we should not be aligning ourselves with the concept of patriarchy and submission. So she is against patriarchy and submission. However, at the beginning, she did say that she wants to be submissive and she wants to find somebody to submit to. Y'all see the lies? Y'all see the lies? I want to be submitted. I want to submit. I want to submit. I want to submit. Oh, but that's the white man's idea of patriarchy and submission. Y'all see the passive aggressive behavior here? Y'all see this, right?
Because quite frankly, they don't know any other form of patriarchy or how to manage a relationship or how to deal with women except from whiteness, because we were born and bred on plantations. So that's who we're the descendants of. So where would they have gotten their...
Listen, everybody else does it. Not just white people. You have Asian people, you have Black people, you have pretty much everybody does that. Patriarchy is a thing. And the more patriarchal society you have, the more that society builds. I want y'all to picture the Japanese. Look at the Japanese. Look at how patriarchal they are. Look at how submissive their wives are, at least historically were. They walked around in a super tight dress, taking half steps, put the geisha things on, and they had like 3 baths and stuff. And yeah, that's patriarchy. It's not the white man's patriarchy. They didn't make them do that crap. Yes, exactly. Our Red Lord, God's chosen, does the same. Even though it's not a race, but every tribe, every functioning tribe does this. Rome did it. Rome was brutal with it. Rome was brutal with it. The man had power of life or death over his wife and daughters, period. Yes, it's something that all functioning. You don't have to just look at, and what she's talking about is Anglo-Saxon. You don't really have to just look at the Anglo-Saxons to come up to the conclusion that patriarchy works. But you don't care if it works or not. You just don't want patriarchy, which is fine. You get yourself a matriarchal-minded man, but you don't want a matriarchal man. You want the benefits of patriarchy without the burden of having to live as a patriarch. You will find yourself constantly, behind the 8 ball with that. Now, I'm gonna read Dig Thug, and then I'm gonna go to Pat. Dig Thug, thanks a lot. Cash apps and super chats are welcome and appreciated. Appreciate you. All right, it says the problem I had with this space is that we focus on the dating aspect 99% of the time, and these women dislike us ever since we were children. You're saying that Black women? I think it's a taught behavior. I think that some women, you have some women who are scorned, and then they come across these videos, and it reinforces, how they feel. A newborn baby can't use game to get out of this. Yeah, true. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're saying since we were children. My mistake. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And thanks a lot, Dig Thug. I misread that. All right. All right. Oh, so Pat's gone. All right. Well, Pat, if you want to come back, I'll give you the mic. So you could say what's on your mind. All right. Absent that, let's continue.
Their idea of manhood and patriarchy and relationship dynamics and what it is to be a man. Where would they have gotten that? Furthermore, where would they have gotten their concept of beauty, what a woman should be, what they should look for in a woman, and how a woman should respond and react to a man? They've gotten that from how white men conduct themselves as men and how they treat their women. That's why a lot of them run around mimicking the way that white men treat their women. That's why you have, I believe, that's why you have a lot of discord in the Black.
Please subscribe to mine. Who are you? All right, Pat, come back up. You see, now what they're trying to do is they're just trying to redefine our beauty standard. They're trying to recreate our beauty standard, saying, oh, that's the white beauty standard, or that's, the white system of patriarchy. I'm going to define what patriarchy is. I'm going to call it Black patriarchy, and Black patriarchy looks a lot like matriarchy, but that's okay. Now, as far as the white beauty standard, and what they're talking about is weight. They're talking about is fat and things like that. Listen, and listen me good. It's in the nature of every mammal species to avoid fat bitches when given the opportunity to do so. It's a primal thing. And the reason for this is quite simple. Mammals are taught not to copulate with something that is already pregnant, meaning you don't waste your sexual energy on a female that's already pregnant if there is a non-pregnant female available. So if you take a bunch of, let's just say, apes. Actually, let's be more specific. Let's just say, I don't know, orangutan, chimpanzees. Let's just say chimpanzees. Chimpanzees, no, let's not say chimpanzees because they have a different rating. Okay, let's just say cows. You're a bull and you see a whole pasture of cows. Which one do you, put your sexual energy into? Well, it would be a waste to put your sexual energy into one that's already pregnant. So you put your sexual energy into the one that looks like it's not pregnant already. It's primal. We avoid fat chicks on a primal level. Now, remember what I said, when no other female is available. It's efficient breeding. This isn't a white mating standard, in other words. This is a human mating standard. This is a mammal mating standard. It's just how we get down.
Community. So I'm really, I think that's really interesting that they would even say that. Really, that's interesting. And comical, laughable actually to me. That's so delusional. I can't even believe that they said that.
Can you give me an example of what it looks like when a Black man is mimicking how white men treat their women and how that differs from how Black men who are not mimicking white male behavior might approach dealing with their women?
Well, for example, a European ideology is
Please shut up. This is made up. This is a made up lie. People's how people look is set by society norms. What I'm saying, Pat, is before society, how people determined beauty. And what I'm saying is, absent society, a fat chick would still be last choice. Not to say that she wouldn't be chosen, but she will only be chosen by the men that the younger, hotter, sexier, childless women don't choose. In the Victorian era, men loved plump women. What men? Okay. There's several things wrong with this, but what men? Notice how in this instance, it's okay. Like white beauty standards, it's okay as long as it's Victorian white beauty standards. Notice that? Notice that it's okay as long as it's Victorian and beauty standards. Now, let's look at a Victorian dress. Hold on. Let's look at a Victorian dress and let's see how much they were in to fat women, shall we? I think we shall. I think that we shall just take a gander at a Victorian dress to get a sense at how much the Victorian people appreciated fatness. Here, let's see if I can find. Here we go. A Victorian ball gown. Oh, all right. Here we go. This is a good example here. All right, and there we go. Huh. In fact, I don't even think they had clothes for fat women. So you see, the Victorian gowns were so focused on a woman being slim that it really worked as a girdle. And they had to take another woman to actually put her foot in her back, pull the strings with all of her might, tie it up in a bow to make her look as slim as she can possibly be. That is the Victorian beauty standards. The dress was designed to make a woman look slimmer than it was. It was the lipo of the day. Victorian beauty standards. Now, let's look at ancient Roman beauty standard. Let's see. Roman goddess of love. All right. All right. And images. Ooh. Huh. That's the goddess of love and beauty? Hmm. Hmm. She seems rather petite. You're telling me they could have drawn any woman to be the goddess of love and beauty, and this is what they drew? Huh. Yeah, so you see, Pat, this, I know you like to romanticize. Get it? Romanticize? Roman? Got romance? Okay, anyway. I know you like to romanticize the fact that, some people, some cultures, somewhere wanted a big ass bitch. But, sweetie, for the most part, that's just not true. It's just not. And this is not a European construct. This is a natural thing. Humans are going to look for signs of fertility and youth. And since people metabolism slow as they get older, being fat makes you look older and less fertile. Subconsciously, we look at you as already being pregnant. You're less valuable. It's not a European thing. It's a natural thing. If you want to be more naturally appealing to men, don't be so damn fat. And stop being fat and trying to convince men that, we only like slim women because of European beauty standards. That's bullcrap. That is bullcrap. Now, let's look up, I don't know, Miss Cameroon. And let's just see if this beauty pageant winner of an African nation is fat. All right, let's see. And huh. She is beautiful. She is beautiful. This is a queen to be. This is Miss Cameroon, you see? She is the symbol of African beauty in Cameroon. Huh. All right. So, now that we got that out the question, now that we got that out the way, we know what beauty is, and it's almost universal. Let's continue.
It's not that women are their partners. It is that women are beneath them. That has been a European.
Oh, somebody said that the picture is fake. Listen. The one on the right is Miss Cameroon. I don't know who this chick is on the left, but the one with the crown and the sash is Miss Cameroon.
European sentiment, since you can go look all throughout European history. They don't seek partnerships in their women. They really do believe that women are beneath them. So you have a lot of.
What does she think submit means? They think that women are beneath them. What does she think that submit means? Well, let's Google's your friend. Let's see. Submissive meaning. All right. Ready to conform to authority or will of others. Meekly obedient or passive. Yeah. So it's like, oh yeah, I want to submit to you, but I don't want to consider myself beneath you in any way. Huh? All right, Justin, thanks a lot. I appreciate you for the super sticker. Thanks a lot. OGJ Speed lets me know he's here. Appreciate you. Thanks a lot, brother. All right. And welcome once again. Yeah, that's just crazy talk. Somebody said, "Get your passport. America is fat." Okay.
Black men carrying that same sentiment. Oh, it's man over woman, not man and woman in partnership. And so when you as a man believe that a woman is beneath you, then she loses value to you. And then you're not going to really respect her as an equal. You're going to want.
I want to submit to the authority of a guy who's my equal. It's not making sense.
To treat her like a subordinate. So you're going to have a mentality of subjugation. And I think that this is why a lot of Black women push back on Black men's notion of submission, because they're.
Here's what's weird about this. I don't agree with the Black man's notion of submission because it comes from the white man. So I'm going to get me a white man and submit to his notion of submission. That's what they sound like. I'm not going to submit to European notion of submission, and Black men, it's like, okay. But I am going to submit to white man's notion of submission. What? Make it make sense. Remember, she started off with this saying, we want to submit. Big Mac the Fisher, thanks a lot, brother. He says, keep working, bro. I got to. If I stop, and trust me, I do want to stop and just get on with my life and, with the Cameroonian chick that I'm with. That's why I picked that country. I want to do that, but I can't just turn my back and let the craziness. I can't let this be the loudest voice. I can't just let this go unchecked. I just can't. It's so ridiculous.
Her notion of submission is more in alignment with subjugation because it's not based on partnership. And they do this based off these Europeanized religions that tells them that it's man above woman and then God above man. But
I want to submit, but I don't want to do the whole man above woman thing. I want equality submission. Huh? I want to join one of those militaries where the sergeant is equal to the private. And yeah, the private submits to the sergeant, but they're equal somehow. I want to submit, but I don't want to be a subordinate. All right, people are asking for the Cash App. Oh, let me put the banner out there. There we go. All right.
The thing of it is it should be a partnership. You should value the opinions and the contributions.
I agree that it is a partnership, but in the partnership, you both have roles.
Contributions of women, and a lot of Black men in our community don't. They don't even think that women should be able to sit up and have a right to speak. This comes from white ideologies. So a Black man.
Oh my God. Submission is a two-way street. Is that why you're crashing all the time? See, the thing about two-way streets is you're not in the same lane. It means, quite literally, you're not going in the same direction. And you're not going in the same direction because you're going in the opposite direction. That's how two-way streets work. You refuse to follow somebody on a one-way street. You refuse to go in the same direction as your men.
Men who don't.
Now, let me ask y'all something too. Since we're talking about two-way streets here and how effed up this analogy, this is the type of people that Sin G breeds. On a two-way street, people are going into completely different destinations. So according to this analogy, the black man is going to the destination, or at least they're trying to get to the destination of happy two-parent households. And the women are trying to get to a destination of baby mama-ism, but only if it's a little girl. Now, somebody said something interesting. I'll read the cash app in a second. Somebody said something interesting. Feminism was created by European witches. Look it up. Exactly. Notice how patriarchal is a white construct, but feminism isn't? Ever notice that? You're taking up the white man's ideology, the white man's ideology, the white man's ideology, the white man's ideology. Oh, but feminism? That's the white woman's ideology. That's different. What?
Don't exhibit this behavior will not be of the mindset that the woman is beneath them. They will respect the contributions of a woman. They will.
Now, who's to say that they don't? First of all, why is she talking about the contributions of a woman? And she said, it's meant to relieve the burden to women.
Understand and appreciate a woman for who she is and what contribution and how beneficial she can be to him as a man. And I don't think a lot of our men really have that sentiment. That's why they go out and seek out in other relationships the ability to actually treat women sort of like she's a doormat, where they don't have to respect.
No. See, she accused us of conflating submission with tyranny, mistreatment, or just degradation and disrespect. But no, men who, like Jeezy, is not degrading, disrespecting, etc., Jenny Ma. He's not. He treats her with respect, and notice how she hasn't quit her day job or her daytime TV job or anything like that. He treats her as respect, but she does submit to him. He understands and he has a healthy idea of what submission is and what dominance and leadership is, and so does she.
Respect her. They don't have to consider what she wants. They don't have to take her opinion into account. They don't want her to talk.
None of that is true. She's demonizing the concept of submitting to a black man.
Back to them or question them. That's European ways of dealing with their women and perspective of dealing with their women. And a lot of black men do share that same perspective.
I want to dig deeper into this because in Greek society, women were the lowest class of citizens. They actually preferred their men and children, specifically male children, over even women for sex, for interaction, for everything like that. And so do you feel that?
And once again, the more patriarchal society is, the more they accomplish. She just proved that point. That's a misconception, Alpha Omega. I won't even highlight that, but yeah. But anyway, um, yeah. So why would you bring up? Put it like this: pick the non-functioning society that was a heavy patriarchal society. Do that. You show me a matriarchal society, and I'll show you one that's soon to be conquered, that's soon to be destroyed. Shout out to Helen of Troy. Shout out to Troy. Yeah.
A lot of the dehumanization that we see, where Black men have reduced Black women to sexual objects, not partners, not wives.
Okay, so now it's the Greeks that did that, and now it's Black men that's doing that. The queen, oh my queen group of people. But see, here's the thing. If a woman doesn't submit, I'm gonna read the cash app. If a woman doesn't submit, then that's all you are. I'm gonna repeat that, as I know Pat Turner would like for me to do. A non-submissive woman is, and only is, a sexual object. And those who disagree with me are free to answer the question. Fuck you. Don't call me. All right. And those of you who don't agree are free to answer the question. What else are they? What else does a non-submissive woman have to offer? She can't even offer a sandwich, because that would be submitting. She don't cook, she don't clean, she don't even child rear. She births children, but that is what sexual objects do. That's a byproduct of sex. What, other than sex and sexual byproducts, read children, does a non-submissive woman offer? So by submitting, you reduce yourself to a sexual, fuck you. You reduce yourself to a sexual object by not submitting. You've taken away all your other functions that benefit men and just left that one. All right, let me bring up the Cash App. Give me a second. Cash App says, well, I greatly appreciate it. All right, so. All right, so Freedmen's Journal, thanks a lot, says, okay, no, that just says coming shortly. Thanks a lot, appreciate you. And does it say nobody? yeah, nobody. So I thought it was just what it is, but no, that's the name. So nobody sent another Cash App. Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you. All right. About business. Well, that's still sexual. About business says a HJ, but that's still sexual. All right, so let me continue. I only got 3 minutes of this.
Wives, and are not valuing a firm family structure. Do you think that that comes from a European ideal of dehumanization of women, and that has compromised our ability?
How many kids have you had by a European guy?
To engage in healthy submission and partnership with our men?
Well, I do, because, just for example, when I think it was Rand said that she went on one of the panels with Black men on there, and they told her, don't speak when men are congregating. Okay. So I think that's very indicative of their mentality, that when a man is present, that somehow a woman should automatically fall beneath him. And we do know that
both are submissive to each other. Damn, what don't you understand? That? I don't understand that. You want to know why I don't understand that? Because that's stupid talk.
in European, specifically Greek society, they actually didn't feel like women had any value except to procreate. Just like you said, they weren't even really attracted to them. They preferred boys, like young boys. They reduced women literally to her womb. And important for
they reduced themselves to their womb. Listen, okay, like crap. What's Jupiter's wife's name? What's the queen of? It's not Hera. Is it Hera? No, Hera is Greek. Crap. What is Jupiter's wife's name? Somebody help me. Crap. Hold on. Google, help me. Hold on. What is it? Oh crap, some IMDb stuff. What's her name? Athena. Thank you. Athena. What was Athena the goddess of? She wasn't goddess of pussy. Oh, she was goddess. I'm gonna double check this. But I think she was the goddess of the half, but I'm gonna double check this. Oh yeah, Athena is her daughter. What's her name? Okay, so they appreciated other aspects of her. Let's just put it like that. Hera is Zeus's wife. Was it Juno? Because I think she was the goddess of birth. Actually, let's just look up Hera. Forget it. They're all the same anyway. Okay, so Hera is the goddess of woman, marriage, family, and childbirth in ancient Greek religion. You see, notice how these goddesses are deified for things other than pussy. That's not how men think of women in a patriarchy. That's how men think of women in a matriarchy, because that really is, their way of controlling the man. Native A-Rain says, big money game changer. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks a lot. All right. Let's continue.
Continuing to breed, but beyond that, she was basically worthless to them, and they treated them as such. That's why if you look at the oppressive forces of how they treated their women back then, it was really disgusting.
The oppressive forces of how they treated their women, when their goddess was the goddess of, goddess of women, marriage, family, and children.
And I feel like with the mentality that Black men take on today, it really does mimic that, especially now that you have MGTOW. Eventually, MGTOW, they're just going to be sitting in a room, like sucking each other's dicks. Like that's what it's going to.
I don't think that's what MGTOW is. I mean, it means men going your own way, And if you are that way, then yes, I guess that could classify it as that. But there are non-MGTOWs that do that as well. Like that's just their way.
To evolve to, they already have the mentality the women are worthless. And we know that this Manosphere and MGTOW was created by white men. So ultimately, they're mimicking this mentality, and they consider it.
And feminism was created by white women. What's your point?
Say that they're not, but there's too much evidence that they are. They do not value their women. That's just the reality. Like, when have we heard Black men really say anything positive? And I'm not saying all of them, of course. But in general, the way that Black men portray their women, what do they actually value them for beyond their bodies? And
what else do you offer? What else do you offer? Every time we say, what do you bring to the table? You twerk on that table. Picture a woman twerking saying that. She's literally twerking on a table saying, why do you only value us for our bodies? What else do you offer? What else do you have? Without submission, that's all you got. Be lucky you got that, because without that, we don't value you at all. What do you call a non-submissive woman without a body? You call her a man.
their sexual prowess, because I don't see that they're putting any value to Black women except on the merits of their sexual abilities.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that. And I was going to try to steer clear of MGTOW because I feel like the two of us and talking about MGTOW could go nowhere good. But I do think that it is interesting. It almost seems like a kind of insanity to me with some groups of men where they are demanding female submission, but they also don't really like women. They don't really value women as people. They
are painting a ridiculous straw man.
Really want firm relationships and families with women, but they criticize the lack of submission, as if the two ideologies can coexist. And I think if we are not careful,
I want y'all to picture Irene Betts' titties talking about they only value us for our bodies. Like, what the fuck? You had your titty out like every scene when you first started.
we'll end up in a climate where it is not safe for women to be submissive, and men will be doing things, and this is something I've talked about here on the channel, and this is something MGTOW is promoting, like having sex with inanimate objects that resemble women instead of actual women. Do you think that there is a rabbit hole where some of our men are very confused about their demands for?
I think what she's describing is masturbation, and men do it. Now, I don't know if she's talking about in particular a doll, inanimate objects, that resemble women, but yeah, I mean, it's masturbating. It's typically done with something like that. Like if you're a kid humping a pillow, or, or if you're a woman with a shower head, or a non-vibrating dildo. Like, that's just something that is done. What, that made no sense.
For submission and what it means to be a leader, and somehow convoluting that with a sort of hatred and disdain and devaluing of women?
I think that there is. I think there's a natural desire in men to be dominant. And so I think that when you're in a situation like Black men are, where they're not allowed to be dominant, they're not allowed to just go around and freely be the dominant man that they should be. I think that creates a mentality of oppression in their mindset. Like they have to oppress someone. They have to dominate someone.
Okay, so this is the last question. Now I'm going to move on. But all right, when she's talking about the mentality of, that mentality, she seeks men with the mentality, oh, woe is me, I'm dominated, so she can then exploit and manipulate that man with that mentality.
Because they have to restore their sense of manhood. So I think that based on being in this system and seeing how white men.
Now, we have to restore our sense of manhood from the Black women, from you in particular. You see, no one attacks the Black man's manhood more than you. Not white supremacy, not anybody. You individually. Why? Because the only way you can sustain a relationship is, the only way you know how, is to be that vassal that pulls the white man's boot out the Black man's ass. And now that you've come to a problem, you've come to a crossroad where the white man's boot is no longer in the Black man's ass. So what are you doing about that? You're putting your shoe there. You're putting your boot there. So you can later remove it.
And conduct themselves, they're trying to be bastardized versions of that, where they're not going to go out and try to seek dominance by conquering other men. They're going to go out there and seek dominance and restore their manhood by essentially devaluing and oppressing women, because that is the only thing that they can do at this point, clearly from their perspective. Because really the best way for them to restore dominance would be to go dominate another group of men. That's ultimately how Europeans established their dominance.
But you just said that something is wrong with the way Europeans did things. So she went on this whole diatribe about, oh, the Greeks and how they treat their women. And then they went out and exerted their dominance over other men. Yeah, the Greeks, they treated their women this way and this way. Yeah, but they exerted their dominance over other groups of men.
Was to show that they're able to take the strongest group of men and dominate and subjugate them. Because Black men are not able to do that for whatever reason.
Because of you. You see, first comes dominance over the woman. Let's be clear. First comes the dominance over the women. I'm going to say this a third time. First comes the dominance over the woman. Period. And then all the other stuff comes after that. Pick a group of people. Pick a group of conquerors. In fact, pick one that didn't. Pick one that didn't. Pick a group of men. Pick a tribe in history that didn't dominate their women, but dominated men. And I'm not talking about in the tribe's decline. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about a tribe who was built on dominating their women and then later they became so comfortable that feminism took over, and then and then they got taken over by barbarians. Shout out to the Romans. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about name the group of the tribe of men who, in their conquering phase, did not dominate their women first. You will be hard pressed to do that.
They are pushing forward on oppressing the women, because where else are they going to get their sense of what they see out the sense of manhood from? But that's why I think it's so interesting, and it's really comical that they would say they were the least to and the last to assimilate to.
So I'm confused. So you don't want them to have a sense of manhood? That's what it seems like. It seems like you don't want them to have a sense of manhood and masculinity. And now you're simply saying you don't want them to exist. And that's because you know that in modern times, you can't raise these stepdaddies that you did in the past. You can't. You can't. Before, so what they're saying is they tried to raise a race of simps, and it didn't take. It took for a portion of them, but it wasn't as successful as they would like for it to have been. Freeman Journal, you're cammed up. Do you want it that way? Give me a thumbs up if you want to be cammed up. All right. So they raised them to be simps. They raised them to be on point simps. They raised them to be ghosts. It didn't really take the way they wanted it to. They found mass desertions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they're like, okay, let's just scrap the whole project. That's where they're at now. Freeman Journal, what's on your mind?
Oh no, I just wanted Nat Turner to cam up. Didn't see.
Oh, okay. So you came up as a challenge. I seen y'all had a back and forth. I didn't really get the details on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you talking about Pat Turner?
Nat? Oh, I thought it was Nat. I don't know.
You talking about this one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. That's a challenge. Yeah, she was up earlier. She wasn't cammed up, but she was up earlier.
Mm-hmm. I mean, here I am. Beige Moses no more, but here nonetheless.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate you. Let me finish this last question. Hold on.
Mm-hmm.
The mentality of the white man. But if you go back to the plantation, they were in positions where they were able to mimic the white man simply by being overseers, by going around and being able to force their sexuality on women. So they've been following the lead of the white man for so long that now, to me, they're almost white men in blackface. The same things that they'll say about their women, about black women, are the same things white men in some situations say about black women.
Then by that logic, wouldn't it be fair to say that black women are like white women in blackface? Because if we're describing you the same way that white men are describing their women, then wouldn't that be the case? I mean, look at your hair. And I use the word your hair loosely. And by the way, we don't actually describe you as white women because that would be a compliment.
So I think that it is creating a problem, and I think it's going to continue to create a problem until they find a better, effective way to feel that they're men. Because even if you think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. 33-32. All right. So I'm gonna stop there because, like I said, it's 4 hours long. I'm gonna cover this thing. I'm definitely going to cover this. These two chicks are out of control. And this is from January 2019. So we get to see the mentality that led up to the whole, Robert situation. We did. Okay. So let me put the link out there. All right. This originally was for Pat, but whoever wants to come up are free to. All right. So, or actually, it's kind of late. Probably not going to stay up too long, but yeah, I will be back on in a little bit. I'm going to be on Chantel Simone's panel. We're going to be talking about the sisterhood, and we're going to move that forward. All right. So, Chaos, what's on your mind?
Is that Theo? Who's the brother on top? I'm trying to. I've never seen him before. The guy. What's his brother?
Beige Moses. Or Freedman's
Oh,
Journal.
how you doing, Moses? That was something that was 2 years ago, right? Game Changer. That video clip, that stream.
Yeah. This was from January of 2019.
Yeah. If you could tell that she looked a little, bloatish at the time. We all know why that's the reason. I'm gonna go into detail. Yeah, there's a lot of contradictions on some of the older videos she does. I mean, they said this that Cynthia has evolved. I think it's more how much more I could take from this space to lead women that's already have an issue with the men in the community to fuel them so I can fill my pockets. That's the route she's taking right now, which has been very effective. Think about it. It's very effective. No, her message is very radical now. Well, it's only radical to the community, this community. But in regards to the radicalism now, that's why YouTube said, we'll let it go by. You know what I'm saying? As long as it hurts the people we don't want, we'll let it go. We'll let it go slide. You know? If she was saying aborting and people should abort all babies, males.
Well, we don't say the A word here. We don't say the A word.
Oh yeah, in that direction, then it'll be an issue. You know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you one thing, she get a lot of commercials for that. For those streams, don't y'all agree?
I don't really watch her show like that. It was brought to my attention that she said that, and so I went back to this video to cover just that.
Mm-hmm. So you watched. So let me ask you a question. Have you saw that full live stream that you were playing just now?
No. I only saw the first 30 minutes of it. So I'm gonna watch the next 30 minutes, and I'm gonna continue with this.
Are you gonna do a part 2 of this?
There's gonna be a part 2 of this. Yeah.
Okay, so since it's your first time watching, did somebody present this to you on her channel?
On Irene Yvette's channel? I don't understand your question. What do you mean present it to me? What do you mean?
Say again? Like someone that said you should probably look into this particular video she did. Because she's done a lot of videos, Game Changer. You're not subscribed to her channel.
So this particular video was relevant to what she's currently saying. I chose this to give a before and after perspective.
Okay. Yeah. And the reason why I ask you because, like you said, this is your first time watching. So, like you said, you're not subscribed to the channel, so you don't really catch on to everything she does. So that's why I kind of ask these questions. And not every video I remember watching from up to what year? The last 3-4 years, I could be remembering. So now,
okay,
that's why I kind of ask. But yeah, you get you get the point.
Yeah. All right. So, Pat Turner, what's on your mind? Pat Turner, you there? She's not on mute. Well, she is now, but Pat, say something. I don't hear anything. If you're talking, we can't hear you. So adjust your settings, do whatever. But yeah. Hold on, Cass, I'm mute you because I'm getting background. I don't know if that's okay. So yeah, she left. All right. So
yeah, if that was somebody, I got back noise. It's just me, so that's why I'm gonna talk briefly. I'm in and out because I'm in the middle of something. So I'll sit back for a little bit. Just if anything, I'll say something.
Okay, so Terezo says Cynthia G is a useless topic piece because she chose Mr. Dumbass instead. Mr. Intelligence to make a baby. Keyword dumbass. Well, yeah. I don't really know much about Robert to really say that, but it's interesting. And the reason why I chose this particular video is because it does show that she has a type. And that type is, or at least was, a guy who has shown a history of taking care of babies from of the children of women that he's not with, and also somebody that is extraordinarily you know pro black. He's hyper concerned with the plight of the black man and black women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's funny. I don't know if she was with him at the time that she said this, but it is funny that how that worked out. Everything that followed. So yeah, now we got to pick her brain onto what led to this decision. But it's obvious that she has a plan. I'm gonna say this and then it's pretty much over. But it's obvious that she has a plan, and that plan is to manipulate men, black men, by using their plight against them. That's what she. You're welcome, Freeman Jeremy. That's what she's always been doing. The problem is that our plight is constantly changing. And as much as they try to make white supremacy seem like a large problem, and we should come together with a woman like her because of white supremacy, we don't really see that as the problem that we once did. And she don't really know what to do with that. That's why she is kind of wailing. She's wailing at the machine. Well, one, she's trying to recreate the problem. She's trying to create this sense of inferiority that she would have once capitalized on were she born 50 years, were she 50 years older. That sense of inferiority only exists in men who sense inferiority or who feel inferior for other reasons. And that's because they probably in some ways are individually that way. So yeah, she wants a society where she can get superior men at inferior man prices is what she's looking for. Just not happening. You want masculinity on a discount. Listen, we as men, we want a beautiful woman that thinks she's ugly. We want a chick that's just a dime piece, but she's a 9, but she thinks she's a 4, and you just walking around with a discount. That would be nice, but that's not happening so much anymore. Especially with the internet and Instagram, women pretty much know where they stand. And conversely, women like Cynthia G want a superior man who thinks he's inferior. Like, oh yes, I'm Robert Smith. I accomplished this, this, and this, and this, this, and this. But I'm still a black man, so let me get with this unsubmissive woman. I am not worthy of submission. That's what she wants. Fellas aren't falling for it, and now she's just trying to reinstill that sense of inferiority so she can manipulate men further. That's what the entire pro-black community is doing. It's just one side trying to out-manipulate the other, and that's why she found herself being out-manipulated by a guy, a serial baby mama maker. So, with that, I'd like to thank the Cash Apps and Super Chats, managers and moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who participate in the chat. Check me out on Chantel Simone's. I'm going to put the video on my community tab. I'm going to share the video. Check me out on Chantel Simone's. I will have this discussion with her, similar discussion with her later on this afternoon. Actually, it's in about an hour, so I'm going to prepare for that. Outside of that, make sure you hit the like button on your way out. And remember, this is Game Changer 00100. Game over. Peace.